You're in the shower and you're having a full-blown argument with someone who isn't even there. You're crafting the perfect comeback, delivering the line that will finally shut them down. Your posture shifts, your jaw clenches. You can feel the adrenaline. And here's the most absurd part. This conversation will probably never happen, but your heart is racing. Your chest is tight. You are genuinely stressed over something completely fictional. You step out of the shower and the argument is still running. You drive to work and it's still there. You rehearse what you'll say if they bring it up, what you'll do if they push back. Every angle, every response, every possible outcome. And then nothing happens. The conversation never comes. They never say the thing you prepared for, and you're left standing there, exhausted from a battle that only existed in your head. Here's the thing. This isn't you being dramatic. This isn't you being angry or paranoid. This is your brain running a psychological defense mechanism, and it has a name. You're an overthinker strategist. Let's break down what that actually means. An overthinker strategist is someone whose mind never stops running simulations. You don't just think about the future, you wargame it. You stress test every scenario before it happens. You map out every possible version of a conversation, a confrontation, a moment that might go wrong. And here's what most people misunderstand. You're not picking a fight. You're trying to make sure you're never caught off guard again. Because here's the logic your brain is running. If something goes wrong in real life, you want to have already lived through it mentally, twice, maybe 3 times. So when it actually happens, you're ready. You have the words, you have the composure, you don't freeze. Your brain is running disaster drills, constantly. It's like being a general who never leaves the war room. You're always planning the next battle, even if there's no enemy at the gate, even if the battle will never come. And the exhausting part, your nervous system can't tell the difference between preparation and paranoia. So you rehearse, you replay, you refine, you build arguments for conflicts that will never happen, apologies for mistakes you didn't make, explanations for accusations no one will ever bring. By the time the real moment comes, if it even comes, you've already fought the war in your head 100 times. So why does your brain do this? Because at some point, being unprepared wasn't just uncomfortable, it was dangerous. If you grew up in an environment where conflict was unpredictable, where moods shifted without warning, where you were blamed for things you didn't understand, your nervous system learned a very specific survival tactic. Anticipate everything. Leave nothing to chance. You started replaying conversations in your head, trying to figure out what you did wrong, what you could have said differently, what you missed, what you should have seen coming. You learned to rehearse conversations before they happened, because being caught off guard meant being hurt, blamed, dismissed, abandoned. So you started running simulations, preparing responses, building scripts for every possible version of a conflict. And your brain called that safety. Because if you could predict it, you could control it. If you could prepare for it, you could survive it. But here's what happens over time. The simulations never stop. Psychologists call this rumination. Your brain gets stuck in a loop, replaying the same scenarios over and over, desperately trying to understand, categorize, and resolve a problem, even if the problem hasn't happened yet, even if the problem will never happen. You become the overthinker's overthinker. You don't just think about what someone said, you think about what they meant, what they didn't say, what they might say tomorrow, what you should have said, what you'll say next time. And the loop keeps spinning. Because your brain isn't looking for peace. It's looking for closure, for certainty, for the feeling that you've covered every angle, prepared for every possible blindside. But that certainty never comes, because the future hasn't happened yet. and no amount of mental rehearsal can control it. Here's the part that's going to hurt to hear. Your body doesn't know the difference between a real argument and an imagined one. When you're standing in the shower rehearsing that confrontation, your nervous system is responding like the threat is real. Your heart rate spikes, your cortisol floods, your muscles tense. You are physiologically preparing for battle. But the battle doesn't exist. So you're flooding your system with stress hormones for a fight that will never happen. You're exhausting yourself emotionally, mentally, physically over something fictional. And here's the tragic irony. By the time a real crisis actually hits, you might be weirdly calm because you've already emotionally processed the worst case scenario. You've already lived through it in your head. So when it finally happens in real life, you're numb, you're steady. You're the person everyone turns to because you don't panic. But that's not strength. That's pre-exhaustion. You've already burned through the adrenaline. You've already fought the war. So when the actual moment comes, you're too tired to feel it. So how do you stop? You start by recognizing what's happening. When you catch yourself mid-argument with someone who isn't there, pause just for a second and ask yourself, is this happening right now? Or is my brain trying to protect me from something that might never happen? Because that's all this is. Your brain is trying to keep you safe. It's running the same survival program it's been running since you were young. And it thinks the way to keep you safe is to prepare you for every possible version of pain. But the truth is, you can't control the future by rehearsing arguments in your head. You can't prevent conflict by preparing for every word someone might say. You can't protect yourself from hurt by living in a constant state of defense. The only thing that does is keep you trapped in a war that isn't real. Healing starts when you gently tell your nervous system, I'm safe right now. I don't need to prepare for a battle that hasn't been declared. You've spent your whole life anticipating danger, preparing for the worst, building armor against threats that might never come. And maybe it's time to put the armor down. Not because the world is perfectly safe, but because you deserve to live in the present, not in a future you're trying to control through sheer mental force. If this video made you feel seen, if you recognized yourself in the shower argument or the endless mental rehearsals, leave a comment. Let me know, what argument are you currently rehearsing that will probably never happen? And if you want to understand more about why your brain works this way, subscribe. We're here every week explaining the psychology behind the things you thought only you did. You're not broken. You're not paranoid. You're just a strategist who's been at war for too long. It's okay to rest now.